Next from Springfield, Governor Quinn and Senator Dick Durbin discussed their campaigns and their opponents for the 2014 midterm elections. This runs about 35 minutes.
It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be governor. I do want to thank Mike for his leadership. I have known Mike Mathis since 1974. It was 40 years ago, and our dear and beloved leader at that time, a Democratic Party chairman once upon a time, Vince DiMuzio. That's where we met, going door to door in a campaign. And I do want to thank all of our precinct committeemen and our county chairmen who are here today. You are the heart and soul of the Democratic Party. That's how we're going to win this November, and how we've won in the past. We do it the best way possible in our democracy, in a grassroots way. And I do want to thank Alan Pertl, who's with us here today, who led this organization and led it well, and handed over the reins now to Mike. It's very important that we continue to be strong. I do want to acknowledge Mike Kerrigan, my good friend, who's here. I like your shirt there, Mike, a very good shirt. We're going to be out at the State Fair this afternoon, and Mike will have a role to play, and we want to make sure that we really thank all the men and women of labor who work hard in all kinds of different vocations. It's important they get paid a decent wage, get a decent benefits and working conditions. It's very, very important we fight hard for the people of Illinois who do the work. They're on the front line. And it is an important election indeed, because my opponent, as you know, has demonized public employees, demonized teachers, wrote an op-ed and said that teachers are overpaid by 23% in Illinois. Does anybody in this room agree with that? I don't agree with that. I think one of the most important missions in life is to impart knowledge to students, whatever their age. It's important that we honor our teachers, our public employees, to do very important work, and all of those who work. They have a right to organize and collectively bargain. And there is a crowd out there in America, some of them here in Illinois, that want to smash our unions and take away their opportunity to do great things. Over in Indiana and in Michigan, they passed right to work for less. We're not for that in Illinois. We believe in the right to work and have we believe in the right to have an union and take on right to work. I think it's also important to acknowledge, and I wanted to do that publicly, someone who has served our country, and I've known him quite well over a number of years. We invest, as you know, in our community colleges and in education. It's important we continue to invest and have a proper amount of money for our early childhood, for our K-12, for our community colleges, for our four-year universities, and also for our scholarships. As Lisa Madigan pointed out, college loan debt, a very serious problem in our state and all across America. We have a program, a scholarship program that I mightily believe in. It provides scholarships to 140,000 students in Illinois to go to college. We want to double that program. We're taking on someone who wants to decimate that program. But you know, investing in education, it pays great dividends. It changes lives. And a life that has been changed by a great young man. He volunteered for the United States military. He answered the call to duty right after 9/11. He went to Iraq. He was in Baghdad. He was a sergeant. He was in combat. He led soldiers in combat. And he came back to our state, to Southern Illinois. And he wanted to make sure that he could get a good job. And it was not so easy. And he was looking for an opportunity. He and 14 other veterans were looking for an opportunity. They wanted a job. And so what we did, together with the UA and the pipe fitters, as well as all of our other unions who believe in helmets to hard hats, we put a program together at Ren Lake Community College to provide training, to be a welder, to learn. All these 15 veterans got a chance to be welders and get that training. And not too long ago, on my cell phone, I got a text message, and it was from this fine soldier. He said, you know what? I got trained, I got a union card, I'm working on a job, and I got a paycheck. And that's Will Addick right there. Why don't you stand up, Will? Will is my hero, and his fellow service members who went forward in the face of danger, they said, "Here I am, take me," in doing the hardest things. I think it's important to understand that we have to do hard things in life to make things better for our kids. The great thing about America is we sacrifice sometimes our present in order to help our kids' future. And it takes leaders in government who tell the people what they need to know, not just politicians who want them to listen to what politicians want to say. So I think it's very, very important that we always keep that at our hearts. We got to take good care of those who have borne the battle. That's important in our mission. We've got to invest in programs that help our veterans and all of those who want to go to school. And I do want to thank, who is at our table as well, someone very special, a family that has given their life to the Democratic Party and to the people of Illinois. We lost a giant not that long ago, a very special man who served in a variety of different capacities, who was elected to a very high office. He gave everything. We all know how important it is to have public service, and Alan Dixon stood for public service. And I want to thank his widow, Jody, and his son to stand up. I have a resolution here. We're going to name a building right here in this city right after Alan Dixon for his service to all of us over many, many decades. It's important we do that. Now, I also want to make sure that we acknowledge all of our fellow candidates on the statewide ticket. It's very, very important that we work together as a team. That's what it's all about. I want to thank Sheila Simon. I thought she gave a great speech here today, how important it is that these referendums that are on the ballot, we encourage people to come out and vote on issues, important issues, as well as our candidates. But Sheila has always stood, along with her whole family, for openness in government. And I think it's very important in this election that the candidates of the other side have that same principle of making sure that their tax returns and their schedules are revealed to the people before the election. Sheila Simon, I want to thank you very much for your stand for integrity for a lifetime. And once upon a time, I served as state treasurer of our state, and we have an excellent candidate for state treasurer in Mike Frericks. He knows how to invest. That's what it's all about. We don't want people admiring money in the bank vault over at the state treasurer's office. We want investment in housing and job creation and helping our agriculture. That's what a good state treasurer does, and that's what Mike Frericks is going to do. He's a good man, and he works very hard for everyday people. And we've got to have a consumer advocate who's the Attorney General for the people of Illinois. And that's exactly what Lisa Madigan is. We got to take on those scam artists and all of those who would take advantage of ordinary, everyday people who live from paycheck to paycheck, whether it's taking advantage of them on mortgages or college loans or anything else. And I'm really proud to be on the same ticket as Lisa Madigan, our Attorney General. And there's somebody I love. The first day I was governor, he came down to see me. He said, "I'm for you today and every day." And he understands the ethic of service. He understands that passage in Scripture, that if you save one life, you save the whole world. And he saved the lives of many, many young people. He understands that giving back to community is what it's all about as a human being. So I love you, Jesse White, our Secretary of State. And I do want to say a word about Paul Vallis. Paul is not a shrinking violet, and we want to make sure we get the truth out. He's a truth slinger. He's going to tell the truth all across Illinois. And I think it's important to realize that Paul Vallis went to community college in our state. Then he went to Western Illinois University in Macomb, Illinois. And then he came here to Springfield, made his home here in Springfield, met his wife here who worked for the police department here. His kids were born here. He loves Springfield. We have a lieutenant governor who loves our state capital, and I think it's very important that we honor the service of Paul Vallis for many, many years. Commitment to children. He served in our National Guard for 13 years, and thank you very much for your lifetime of community service, Paul. You're a good man. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge our candidates for Congress. We want them to win. Ann Callis in this district is going to be in a tough, hard race. We're all in this together. You know, this is the smartest district in America. It's got more universities and colleges than anywhere else, this district. And Ann can win this district. We got to make sure that our students and all those who are committed to education get registered and turn out and vote to elect Ann Callis. That's a very important mission. And also, I want to acknowledge our Congress people who are here today. My congressman is right in front of me, and that's Danny K. Davis. Thank you, Danny. And someone who understands that public safety is the first order of government and business at all times, who understands how important it is to fight hard for people who need a fair shake, and that's Robin Kelly. He's right here. Thank you, Robin. I was with Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth yesterday. We signed a bill to help our disabled veterans when they come home. And I met Tammy Duckworth at Walter Reed Hospital about a week or two after she was shot down in Iraq. And I saw her going room to room, consoling other wounded warriors. And Tammy Duckworth has the heart of a warrior, the heart of a public servant, someone who understands how important it is to take good care of those who have borne the battle. She's going to give a speech very shortly, but I am very proud to be on the same ticket as an American hero, Tammy Duckworth. Thank you, Tammy. And I want to thank our U.S. Senator right here sitting before me. You know, he said to those big corporations, and including our president, he said the same thing, and I said it as well. There's something wrong with American corporations that have benefited from American workers and American consumers, all of a sudden deciding to renounce their American United States citizenship and trying to go overseas to try and lower their taxes. That's just plain wrong. That's not the way we go in America. We stick together. We work together. We pay our fair share. And thank you, Senator Durbin, for leading the charge. Okay. Well, I like election campaigns. I like competition. I think it is important in democracy to have real contests of ideas and philosophy and where you stand and what your record is. And this is going to be, in the next 83 days, quite a contest. And we've got to be ready, and we've got to be on our toes, and we've got to work real hard. It's 83 days, I believe, the election, 166 if you don't sleep. And I'm not planning to sleep. I think all of us have to understand that a lot of important causes are at stake in this election, things we believe in. It's been mentioned that we stood with President Barack Obama in getting an important law passed, and it wasn't easy. I think our Congress folks and Senator Durbin will tell you, it was a battle to try and get decent health care for everyone. That's something that Americans believe in. But it's not easy because there are powerful forces that don't want that to happen. And they try to undo it all the time out in Washington, giving the president a hard time, trying to shut down our federal government. That's what they tried last year. We can't let that crowd prevail. You know, in Illinois, we embraced the opportunity to give more people health insurance in our state. Over in Indiana, in Wisconsin, you know, my opponent thinks the former governor of Indiana, Mitch Daniels, and the current governor of Wisconsin, a guy named Scott Walker, he thinks they're the best thing since Swiss cheese. You think so? I don't think so. Those two governors said no to federal money to give people health coverage for the first time ever. We have 622,000 people that have enrolled in the Affordable Care Act in our state just since it began. That's more than 500,000 people. Isn't that really what government is all about? It's not about the politicians. It's not about the candidates who want to talk about themselves. It's really about what we can do for the common good. How can we change lives and make them better? Whether it's health care or whether it's education. We believe in the opportunity of everyone to get a good education. It's not just for the elite. Education is for everyone. The essence of democracy is investing in important programs. Our budget puts more money in the classroom than any other time in Illinois history. I'm running against someone who has an $8 billion budget hole. He's going to take a chainsaw to our education. He doesn't respect our teachers. He demonizes our teachers. We cannot allow that if we're going to be a strong state. You know, we have to have a strong education if we're going to have a strong economy. Jobs follow brain power. And there was a great president who was around when I was coming up, and John Kennedy said, "A rising tide lifts all boats." Now I'm running against somebody who thought President Kennedy said, "A rising tide lifts all yachts." That's what he thinks, okay? We don't believe in that, okay? I have one house. I'm lucky to have one house. I've had it for 31 years. I'm running against somebody with 9 mansions, okay? I have 3 credit union accounts and 1 checking account. I'm running against somebody who's got more money than King Midas and likes to stash some of it in a place called the Cayman Islands, okay? That isn't what Illinois is about. I'm running for the governor of Illinois, re-election. I believe in our state, and I think we need to have the governor understanding how hard the people work and how important it is that we invest back in the people of our state. We cannot decimate our state budget for education. The guy I'm running against, he's just like those other guys in Indiana and Wisconsin. He's not for the Affordable Care Act. Is he going to take away health care from 500,000 or more people in our state? This isn't right. This isn't the right way to go for the people of Illinois. We've got to stand together as a party and as a people to do the right thing. We believe in jobs, and the best way to have a job is to make sure that everybody's included. We can't have a governor who believes in outsourcing jobs, our jobs from America to other places, to other countries. We can't have a governor who's laying people off in a very unfair way. No, those companies of my opponent, they did the wrong thing. We've got to do the right thing. We've got to always believe in the everyday people of our state. You know, when I became governor, it was a tough time economically. We all know that. There was a lot of those wheeler dealers on Wall Street who ran the American economy into the ditch. And it hurt Illinois. And our economy hurt, and it hurt our budget, our state budget. We lost a lot of money because of the Great Recession. But we never, ever gave up. We understood that when tough times come, good people band together for the common good. And that's what we did. We were able to pass strong ethics laws and enforce them. We were able to, month by month, pay down those bills and make sure that we continue on that path with a fiscally sound budget. And we understood we had to rebuild our economy. You know, I was recently at Ford Motor Company in our state on the south side of Chicago. It started in 1925. My grandfather drove a Model T. My father drove a Mustang. And I've driven a Taurus. And the Taurus is built right here in Illinois. And I tell you that. But I'll tell you, and I was with auto workers. Back in 5 years ago, Ford had 1 shift at that plant, 1 shift. And they were hurting. But we worked together with our president, who was never, ever going to let the American auto industry go away. And we stood together here in Illinois, and we now have 3 shifts at Ford, round the clock. And up in Belvedere, Chrysler, had 200 jobs. They were on the flat of their back. And we understood how important it is that we work together. And that's exactly what we did. Chrysler has 4,500 jobs at that same plant right now. That's what it's all about. So we've got to make sure that we continue to grow our economy. We have more people working in Illinois than any other time in the last 6 years. It's important that we continue to drive down our unemployment rate. We are continuing to invest in people and businesses that commit themselves to Illinois, not to some overseas country or not to some place in the Cayman Islands. It's very important that we always invest in the people and businesses of our state, and we tell those plutocrats and billionaires, they got to pay their fair share. There's a referendum on the ballot that says if you're a millionaire, if God's blessed you with all that money, you ought to pay a little bit more in income tax to help kids learn in the classroom. Do you agree with that? I think so. Elections, when all is said and done, are about values. What are our values? Are we going to let someone get elected governor of Illinois who stands there in the Quad Cities and Rock Island and says the Illinois minimum wage is too high, it ought to be cut? Do you think that's the right way to go for our state? I sure don't. No. That's why right here at all these tables we have our card here for our referendum to raise the minimum wage. To raise the minimum wage is a values issue. We have people in our state, over 1 million people will benefit if we can raise the minimum wage. And we're going to do it the right way, where the people in a referendum send a message to their elected representatives, to all of us, to make sure we do the right thing on January 1st of next year. It's so important, this referendum, that we tell folks to say, well, why should I vote in the election? Well, it's all about doing the right thing. And doing the right thing is making sure we raise that wage in Illinois. Raise that wage. 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 You know, I just heard, there's a principle as old as the Bible. It says if you work hard, if you're working 40 hours a week, if you're doing the hardest job possible, you shouldn't have to live in poverty. You shouldn't have a job where you live in poverty. That's not right. The crowd we're running against, they're going to fight us. We got to remember that, and we got to be ready, and we got to do it at the grassroots level, getting one voter at a time, to vote for our candidates, vote for the referendums we believe in, to do the right thing. Now, the fellow I'm running against, I heard him on TV one time. They said, well, you're in the 1%, aren't you? And he said, no, he's in the 0.01%, okay? Well, I'm never going to be in that crowd, and I don't want to be in that crowd. I want to be a champion of everyday people who live from paycheck to paycheck. That's what a governor's got to do. I want to fight hard for the 99.99% of the people all across Illinois who want a governor who's a fighter for consumers, a fighter for workers, who's never ever going to give up on everyday people, who's always there for our veterans. That's how we're going to make the will of people the law of the land. Thank you very much.
Honor's been given to Alan Dixon. I know Jody was here a few minutes ago with the family. Honor has been given to Paul Simon, who actually said those words, be honest and help the helpless. Honor should be given to Kenny Gray, who just passed away a couple weeks ago. And I want to tell you, in his day, Kenny Gray brought more to Southern Illinois universities, the interstate highway system. He was a leader who understood the economics of that part of the state. And my friend Gene Callahan, who passed away a couple weeks ago here, he was my buddy, my trusted friend, and many of us in this room. But this isn't about the memories of the past alone. It's about our vision of the future. I start off by telling you that I stand here feeling like a king. And not just any king. I stand here feeling like Stacey King. Stacey King, do you remember him? Stacey King was a center for the Chicago Bulls back in the day of the Jordan era. The year was 1990, and the Bulls were playing the Cavaliers. And Michael Jordan, in the playoff game, scored 69 points. And they went to Stacey King, the center. What was it like, Stacey, to be out there on the floor when Michael Jordan scored 69 points? And Stacey King said, as long as I live, I will never forget the night that Michael Jordan and I scored 70 points. And I want to tell you, as long as I live, I will never forget the day that Mike Mathis and I brought out 1,400 Democrats right here. Mike, congratulations. I'm proud to be from downstate. My father was from deep southern Illinois, Hamilton County, born in Dahlgren. I grew up in East St. Louis, as did my wife. She grew up in a suburb of East St. Louis called Centerville. And we raised our kids right here in Springfield. And I've tried to continue on the tradition of serving the entire state. I am not one of those downstaters who jumps all over and beats up on Chicago, Danny K. Davis. I am proud to represent the city of Chicago, Cook County, and the Chicago area. I think we are strongest when we are together as a state, working together, downstate, the entire state. But I work with Governor Quinn, and I can tell you next year, we're going to reopen the Thompson Prison and create 1,200 good-paying jobs in the Quad Cities area. The biggest employer in that area, the Rock Island Arsenal, is going to have the funding it needs to continue to have thousands of good-paying jobs. The governor and I are going to be together in a week or so to have a little announcement up in Rockford. There are ways we can create good jobs, good employment up in that area of the state. I think about the Future Gen plant 30 miles from here. Future Gen, which is going to create good labor-paid jobs with a project labor agreement, and is going to show how we can use coal in an environmentally responsible way. I think about the Metro East, where the levees literally protect life and limb, and we're working with organized labor and the Corps of Engineers to make sure they're ready if ever threatened. I think about Amtrak, and I am damn proud of Amtrak service in downstate Illinois. Governor, thank you for your leadership on it. We need more trains. They're filled now. And that high-speed rail project, that created good-paying jobs all over our state. I think about Normal, Illinois. I'm headed there from here. I'll be meeting with Mayor Chris Coos. We got together in downtown Normal. We put together an intermodal transportation center right around the Amtrak station. They've got a brand new hotel there. It is cooking, and a new hotel is on the way. That is what you can do when you're dedicated and work hard to make it happen. I think about all of the things that we've done together as a state to grow. But I think in particular, too, about what this campaign is all about. And I think about my opponent. Now listen, this happens to be an unusual year. The two Republicans who are running for the highest offices, Senate and governor, happen to be very well off. Now, your opponent may have a little bit more money than my opponent. But the fact is, both of them have a lot more money than anybody in this room. And that's okay. I am not envious of people who are wealthy. I take a look at Bruce Rauner, who made $53 million last year. $53 million? I take a look at my opponent, who may be worth $60 million. He made a paltry $1.5 million last year. I am not envious, because I know that I am only one Powerball ticket away from having the same kind of money that these guys have. It could happen. I don't resent their wealth, but I do resent the fact that they have forgotten that there are an awful lot of people in this state and across this nation not as well off. I cannot believe that my opponent introduced a bill, and I had my legislative analyst, the man I trust the most, Ron Holmes, read the bill. Introduced a bill which said it should be illegal in the state of Illinois for anyone to give an increase in the minimum wage to a person under the age of 26. Oberweis introduced a bill and said it should be illegal to give an increase in the minimum wage for anyone under the age of 26. Think I'm making that up, don't you? It's a fact. Well, who did he exclude? All college students, virtually all of them. A lot of single moms struggling to keep their families together. And incidentally, well, returning vets under the age of 26, trying to find any kind of job. Jim Oberweis said no increase in minimum wage for them. But that's not much different than Bruce Rauner. Basically says the minimum wage pays too much money. Well, that's the difference. That's why this campaign is different. That's why our party is different. We know better. We know these people. They're the ones who got up and went to work this morning in the darkness of the early morning hours on the buses and trains and driving their pickup trucks down the highway to get these tough jobs, to try to keep it together for one more pay period. We believe that people who work hard for a living should receive the kind of wage that gives dignity to work, that respects the fact that you will get up and work, even if it's tough and even if you're just barely scraping by. That's the difference between Democrats and Republicans. That's the difference in this race. And I can tell you this too. You know what? We reflect a lot on who we are as Democrats, and we are standing on the shoulders of greatness when it comes to people like Franklin Roosevelt and John Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson, Harry Truman. You can go through the litany. And then you hear my opponent, who runs an investment company, say we should privatize Social Security. What a great idea that would have been 10 years ago. If you were counting on retiring and watch the bottom fall out of your stock market. But my opponent says privatize Social Security and take away the guarantee of Medicare from millions of families across this entire nation. Well, I couldn't disagree more. But there's one particular issue I want to just put my finger on right now. The year was 1901. There was a fellow who lived in Dixon, Illinois, who decided to move to Chicago and work in a drugstore. He was the son of a Swedish immigrant. His name was Charles Walgreen. Charles Walgreen opened the first Walgreens drugstore at the corner of Bowen and Cottage Grove in the city of Chicago. Went along pretty well. When he died 10 years later, there were 10 of them, 10 Walgreens drugstores. Started right here in Illinois by the son of an immigrant. There are more than 8,000 Walgreens drugstores today, more than 600 in our state. And I tried to help him over the years. I'm sure the governor has too, because it's a good Illinois company, born and bred in Illinois, and it's growing great across the country. And I've helped them with things that they've called me on that I thought would help their business. But then I got a phone call from the CEO of Walgreens, and he said, we are considering inversion. What is that? I asked Greg Wasson. Well, we would just be moving our corporate headquarters to Europe. I said, why? Well, it would lessen our tax burden. How much? Well, it would be about $800 million a year that we wouldn't pay into the federal government. Over 5 years, $4 billion. I said, but you would pick up and give up your Illinois, your American citizenship to do this? Well, it's something that the people on Wall Street think would be a good idea for our stock price. I said, Greg, not the people on Wall Street that are walking into your drugstores. It's folks all across Illinois and all across America who happen to think you're America's drugstore. They're not going to like this. You ought to think about this. Well, we're debating it, he said. And I went out and I wrote a couple columns and articles to the Chicago Tribune, and they actually printed it. And, and I found out he wasn't the only company considering this. Former Abbott Labs, company AbbVie, same thing. Now some other companies considering it. I think it's wrong. I think it's just plain wrong for companies that rely on American customers. In the case of Walgreens, 24% of their revenue comes from Medicare and Medicaid, sustained by U.S. taxpayers. And they were going to pick up and go. Well, he thought about it long and hard, and I got a phone call last week on Tuesday morning, a week ago, from Greg, and he said, we're staying. And I said, that's the right decision for Walgreens. That's the right decision for America. And he said, I'm going to catch some grief. These folks on Wall Street are going to be madder than hell about this. I said, yeah, but the folks on Main Street are going to think Walgreens made the right call. So that's where we are, folks. And it isn't just a matter of whether we agree. The fact of the matter is that when I pointed out this loophole, my opponent thought this was perfectly fine. Just another business decision to pick up and leave America. Well, I can tell you this, as long as you let me serve as your senator, I'm going to fight to reform that tax code. And here's what I want to see. I want to see a tax code that rewards American businesses that are headquartered in America, keep their jobs in America, pay a decent wage in America, give health insurance in America, provide for retirement in America, give a veteran's preference in America. Those American corporations should be helped by our tax code. That's what this is all about. That's worth fighting for. Now,
you're watching the Illinois Channel, an independent nonprofit corporation formed to provide gavel-to-gavel coverage of Illinois state government and other public affairs events taking place across Illinois.